Fantasy Freaks and Geeks. What's going on? James Coe here with you. I hope y'all did a lot better than your boy in your fantasy football playoffs. I got ousted in both spots that I was in. It was not a fun week. A lot of bad scores out there for your boy out here. Anyways, we are talking about if you're still alive and you're still looking at the waiver wire, or shoot, maybe you're looking for some early look at some sleepers here for DFS. That'd be fun. Sure. Why the hell not? I got you covered here. Let's take a look at your waiver wire going into week number 16. All right. There's a couple of running backs here because, man, there's just so many injuries all up and down the board here across multiple positions here. But let's talk about, obviously, Nick Chubb with that broken foot. So, of course, next man up, Jerome Ford taking on Cincinnati. If I sound intrigued there, it's because, well, Cincinnati's defense is not very good. We know they could be a potentially great matchup against Cincinnati. Look, the Bengals have been better against the run than they have against the pass. But that being said, overall, they're bad. Right. So I do think that there is a solid touchdown upside here. And plus, with so much uncertainty at the quarterback position, I do wonder if Kevin Stefanski does lean on the run just a little bit more. And that means going to a guy that is very familiar with the offense, a guy that has been very productive in this offense in Jerome Ford before. So, and by the way, did y'all see that run he had, that 62-yard run for touchdown? I mean, my guy Jerome Ford he looked fresh. He looked randomly explosive as hell on that big-time run. So, yeah, no, Jerome Ford should absolutely be the first person off the waiver wire here. That's if he's not already gone. I mean, shoot, he might be handcuffed to a lot of Nick Chubb fantasy teams anyways. But if he's not available, very interested in Kendre Miller as well. Alvin Kamara dealing with a growing injury right now. We don't know the severity, but I will say this. He's had a few lingering injuries, plus he's 29 years old, plus he's only played 16 games one time in his career. And that was his rookie year. He is a player that has been in and out of the lineup. Not a lot of major injuries at all, but a little nicks and bruises here, keeping him out a few, 3 or 4, a handful of games throughout his career. So this might be one of those times. I don't know. We'll find out. Obviously, the injury report will be very important for both Alvin Kamara and the prospects of Kendre Miller as well. By the way, taking on a Green Bay defense that is, it's more like league average against running backs. But again, I'll dive into those numbers a little later on in the week when we talk about Kendre Miller potentially being a sleeper here for you in week number 16. Now, I don't know. Maybe you're not that familiar with Kendre Miller. Maybe you're not that familiar with the Saints running back room, and you're wondering to yourself, wait, hold on. I thought they had Jamal Williams. Yes, indeed they do. And listen, Jamal Williams is an awesome interview. I love listening to Jamal Williams talk. He has a bright future in the media if he wants to go there. And he seems like a genuinely great guy. He seems like a genuine pleasure to be around. You want that guy to be in your workplace, man. He seems awesome. Okay. That being said, as a professional running back, I think his days may be done, man. I don't know. He has not looked good for the past 2 years, if we're being honest here. But I do love Jamal Williams as a person. And in his peak, too, I liked him as a player as well. All right, more injury news here. How about what is going on with the ankle for Tony Pollard? He's been nursing that ankle injury for a couple of weeks now. We don't know what that severity might look like. Will it keep him out of game? I don't know. It might not. Again, keeping a very close eye on those injury reports. But man, Tyjae Spears looked good. Not on the ground. I'll say that. Only had 4 carries for 5 yards, but 7 targets, 6 grabs, 87 yards, receiving yards. That'll get it done. He had 2 total touchdowns. That's pretty good. Good for 27.2 PPR points there in week number 15. Man, you want to know what's crazy? Since week number 4, he had 29.1 PPR points combined before we got to week 14. So, yeah, man, obviously a huge and very unexpected explosion game here for Tyjae Spears. Brenton Strange, if you need a tight end, should absolutely be an extremely high waiver wire priority here. Again, if I was ordering this, I would say Jerome Ford 1, if he's available. Then I would say Kendre Miller, because I don't feel that confident that Alvin Kamara will be back. But again, we'll see. But number 3, and again, maybe it's number 2, it's Brenton Strange. He's taken on the Las Vegas Raiders. We know their defense is not very good. But you talk about this volume, man. Again, Evan Ingram out for the season. Out for the season. Brenton Strange got in there and saw 12 targets, 11 grabs for 73 yards, a cool 18.3 PPR points. Are you freaking kidding me? By the way, 73 yards on 11 grabs. That's outrageous. That is outrageously inefficient. And by the way, I just blame this overall offense. The reason I think this is an easily repeatable figure for Brenton Strange, maybe not the 11 grabs, but shoot, I mean, I could see him getting 6, 7, 8 grabs, right? Double-digit PPR points, no problem. No problem. And the problem stems with Doug Peterson's offense. And shoot, maybe it might be all the injuries. Okay, I think that's fair. Christian Kirk, obviously, Gabe Davis. Okay, the injuries have been mounting. There's no question about that in Jacksonville. That being said, Evan Ingram was seeing 15 targets a game seemingly. Brenton Strange just walks into 12 targets. This offense is geared to throw to the tight end, which is not great. If you're wondering why Jacksonville's offense is not that explosive, because they keep throwing to these rando tight. Brenton Strange is seeing 12 targets, bro. Are you serious? Okay. Anyways, but that's been a common theme for Jacksonville all year long. They just continue to throw to the tight end. It's crazy. It is crazy. Anyways, okay, we move on. You should add Brenton Strange because he will see volume. Jalen McMillan, all of a sudden, I mean, for the first 3 weeks or the first 3 months of the season, Jalen McMillan was a mess. An absolute disaster of a player at wide receiver. I mean, more so than you would say, oh, well, he's just a rookie. No. If you watched him play, he was lost in the forest, man. He couldn't catch a dang cold. Bad hands, bad routes. Effort did not look like it was there. And man, this team has stuck with him. Liam Cohen has done a good job of just sticking with them and sticking with them and sticking with them, because these last 2 weeks, this is a different player. This is the player that we saw at UW, right? This week taking on Dallas, and Dallas has given up a ton of production to outside wide receivers. Trayvon Diggs just went on IR. But in back-to-back weeks, we're talking week 14, 4 grabs for 59 and 2 touchdowns. Nearly 22 fantasy points. In week 15, 6 targets, 5 grabs, 75 yards, and another touchdown. 18.5 PPR points for you right there. But 3 total touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. He's become an integral part of this offense, and he has played well. Very efficient, as I mentioned, right? We're talking about over the last 2 weeks, 13 targets and 9 grabs for over 130 yards. Again, efficiency. It's been great. I don't know where this player was hiding the first 12 weeks of the season, but my God, he has really come on and looked pretty darn strong over the last 2 games as well. I really thought we were going to see a Sterling Shepard performance, but no, it's mostly Jalen McMillan right now. So I do feel confident about that. And listen, they played in different spots. Sterling Shepard is mostly a slot guy. Jalen McMillan is right now mostly an outside player. Anyways, absolutely worth the ad in a great spot against Dallas, as I mentioned. Aaron Rodgers is taking on the LA Rams, and he's coming off of his best game of the season. If there's reason for optimism, I mean, shoot, it's the weapons. Right? I mean, he's got Garrett Wilson. He's got Devontae Adams, and that chemistry is just popping off right now. It's running hot, right? So I get it. Rodgers is coming off of his best game of the season against the aforementioned Jacksonville Jaguars, who are an absolute disaster. It's a circus show. It's a mess. I get it, right? A lot of quarterbacks are posting season bests against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I understand. But let's not make it seem as if the Rams are some kind of, world beaters. It's not the steel curtain, okay? This isn't the early 2000 Baltimore Ravens we're talking about here. I mean, shoot, it's not even the Super Bowl. It's not even the Super Bowl Rams, bro. Okay, there ain't no Aaron Donald walking through that door. Come on now. Rams are bottom 10 in sacks. That's going to be great for Aaron Rodgers to be able to sit back there to dissect a defense, even though he has been making a lot of plays with his legs. I mean, shoot, he had dang near 50 yards rushing against Jacksonville. Okay, I don't think he gets up there against the Rams, but if you're letting this dude sit back there and dissect the defense and make some plays, that's all he wants. That's all he wants, a little scramble drill, let's go. Plus, the Rams are bottom 10 in touchdowns and fantasy points per game allowed to the quarterback position. And by the way, after a very sluggish start, likely due to age and injury coming off that Achilles, I would say Aaron Rodgers coming around, man. He really is. He has scored 2+ touchdowns in 5 of his last 7 games. If he can pour in another couple touchdowns against the Rams, which I could see, by the way, the Rams are going to force the issue because I think the Rams are going to build up a pretty nice lead too, right? Again, this one could be a little bit of a back and forth shootout. I don't know. I could see it. I could absolutely see it. If you're looking for another streamer, how about Cooper Rush taking on Tampa Bay? We know Tampa Bay is one of the best, if not the best matchup on the board. They've given up a ton of production to the quarterback position. 6 of the last 10 quarterbacks that they have faced have posted 23 or more fantasy points. Now you're saying 6 of 10. Well, that's pretty good. It's not great. Listen, let me tell you the quarterbacks that have not posted 23 or more fantasy points. This most recent week, which is a super big surprise, but Justin Herbert was banged up, okay? But he still had a usable fantasy day. I won't say it's great, but it was usable. But Herbert was banged up coming into that ball game, right? The only other quarterbacks who have, again, not posted 23 or more fantasy points over the last 10 matchups, Aiden O'Connell, Danny DeVito, and Spencer Rattler. That's it. That's your list. Everyone else has put up monster games. Monster games. Beautiful matchup for Cooper Rush, who, by the way, hasn't played that bad. I don't want to say he's played great, but shoot, man. He's right there in terms of top backup quarterback play right now. He feels very comfortable. He's been in this system for a long time. He feels very comfortable with it. He's got an A-plus receiver in CD Lamb that he's going to. And he's spreading the ball around to some of his other receivers as well. I don't know. I think he's playing okay football, man. I really do. And by the way, Cooper Rush, he has had 2+ touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. Again, Tampa Bay is going to push it here. They're going to post a pretty big number against Dallas's defense without Trayvon Diggs and, all these other injuries. Overshown, out for the season. Tampa Bay is going to score some points now, right? Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to play a little catch-up. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Tim Patrick versus Chicago this upcoming week. Now we're starting to get into some more deeper sleeper type of, pickups here. Again, Tim Patrick, I think, will be available on the waiver wire after the waiver wire runs. He'll be a free agent, I think, Tim Patrick. But again, 8 more targets here in week number 15. Right? Good for 4 grabs, 30 yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty good. 13 points in PPR. But again, this follows a week 14 where he had a really productive day as well. 7 targets, 6 grabs, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So again, if we're counting over the last couple of weeks here, we're talking about 15 targets over the last 2 weeks, right? We've got, 10 grabs over the last 2 weeks, and we've got 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. That's pretty good overall. I think it's a tough matchup against Chicago. It is, 100%. But secondary options, secondary receivers have sometimes done better than primary receivers in this matchup, right? Not as if Jalen Johnson moves around, but it's opened the door they have certainly done shaded coverage, right? And so I do wonder if they shade coverage towards Amon-Ra St. Brown. If they shade coverage, it's harder to do that because he's in the slot, but maybe they shade coverage to Jameson Williams, right? They want to eliminate big plays. They're going to take away big plays. Well, shoot, where are you going to go? The intermediate middle of the field is where Jared Goff loves to throw that football, and Tim Patrick right now is living in that area, right? I talk about secondary options, secondary receivers, sometimes doing better than primary receivers against Chicago. I'll explain. Week 14, Debo goes for 5.5. Juwan Jennings, he goes for 28. Week 12, Justin Jefferson goes for 4.7. Jordan Addison goes for 30. Week 11, Romeo Doubs has 2.7. Christian Watson goes for 21. Okay, so it's a little bit inconsistent, sure, 100%. And there's a reason why Chicago has been so good against wide receivers. Great, I get it. I recognize it. I respect it. But I do think that Tim Patrick, as a deep sleeper, does have an opportunity to shine here. Okay, Ameer Abdullah versus Jacksonville. Is this a deep sleeper? I feel like it might be. I don't know. I'll see what his rostership percentage looks like after the waiver wire run, but I cannot imagine a lot of folks are just rushing out to the waiver wire to go pick up this dude. Sincere McCormick injured his ankle on Monday night. Zamir White is obviously on IR and ineffective. Only Ameer Abdullah and Alexander Madison, Fantasy's original president, Alexander Madison, only they remain there for Las Vegas. I'm going to take my chances on a guy that has shown a lot more in the passing game, right? Scored a touchdown this past week on Monday, again, because of his receiving chops, right? Plus, he's taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags, they stink. Coming into week number 15, the Jacksonville Jaguars had given up the second most receiving yards to running backs and the second most fantasy points per game. That stuff lines up very well with Ameer Abdullah. Now, again, do have to see how severe the ankle injury is for Sincere McCormick, but he did get injured and did not return to that football game. So, again, this one will be dependent on Sincere McCormick. If you want some defensive streamers, let me run through them really quick. They should all be pretty self-explanatory. Detroit, if they are available. I know they have a million injuries. That's okay. They're taking on Chicago. Caleb is by far the most sacked quarterback in the league. Minnesota, they blitz like crazy. They're taking on Seattle. Geno is banged up, and Sam Howell is potentially going to get that start. Sam Howell is a disaster. You're talking about a team that gets after the quarterback, picks up a lot of turnovers against Sam Howell? Oh, sign me up. And again, I don't know if Minnesota's available, but if they are, go pick them up. Green Bay's taking on New Orleans. And again, who is New Orleans running out there at quarterback? I don't know. Jake Hayner, Spencer Rattler? I don't think it matters. Washington just put up 3 sacks and had a pick against New Orleans in Week 15. I think Green Bay, with Jair Alexander potentially making his return, I think could, again, post a really solid number against New Orleans. Now, true streamers, I mean, these guys are deep of the deep of the deep. I'm talking about bad teams in good spots. Las Vegas taking on Jacksonville. Interesting spot for the LV Raiders defense. Similarly, Jacksonville's defense against the Las Vegas Raiders, because it's, a backup to the backup to the backup, man. Right? So again, Jacksonville's defense, I think, is interesting against Las Vegas. I probably prefer Las Vegas's defense because they are playing harder. They're playing with more energy and more ferocity than Jacksonville. Jacksonville looks like, man, they got one foot out the door, baby. Like, they are signing yearbooks right now. You know what I'm saying? They're writing KIT in people's yearbooks, right? They're ready to go, man. They are ready to go. And finally, Cincinnati taking on Cleveland, because no matter who it is at quarterback, Cleveland looks like they could be a disaster, bro. I mean, whether it's Jameis Winston, turnover machine, or even if it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, like, it doesn't matter. DTR turns the ball over a lot. He gets sacked a lot too, man. Like, Cleveland is, yeah, and again, I get it. Cincinnati's defense is not good. And I'm not saying they're good at all, man. Oh my goodness. But Cleveland's quarterback situation is a mess. And I do think they're a deep sleeper or a deep streamer option for you at the defensive side of the football. All right, so there you go. Show's running a little bit long, man. I got to go. Anyways, we'll catch you tomorrow here when we start talking about dig a little bit more deeper into some of this injury news and obviously more sleeper talk as well. But anyways, we got to go. But remember, it's never too late to chase your dreams. Peace.